When I met Vanessa, she felt like a spark I didn't know I needed. She was all laughter, bright eyes, and endless energy. We met at a coffee shop downtown, the kind she later turned into her office. She talked about dreams, about building a business from her phone. I talked about engines, about saving for a small house. We couldn't have been more different, but somehow it worked. At first, I loved how confident she was. She could walk into any room and make people listen. I was the quiet one, happy just to stand beside her. She moved in after a year, saying it made sense to split expenses. But soon, splitting meant I paid most of it. She said her money had to go toward her brand. She bought new outfits, a better phone, endless makeup. Each purchase came with a reason, a promise of future success. I believed her. I thought every business needed time to grow. I told myself I was being supportive, not naive. My dad always said a good man helps the people he loves. So I did. Rent, groceries, internet, even her car insurance. If she was short one month, I covered it without hesitation. When she thanked me, it felt worth it. When she didn't, I told myself she was just stressed. Her Instagram started looking like a magazine. Coffee shops, brunches, shopping trips, perfectly filtered sunsets. But the girl behind the screen was always tired, distracted, distant. She scrolled for hours, chasing likes, chasing validation. Our dinners became silent, our weekends her content days. If I asked for time together, she'd roll her eyes. "You don't understand entrepreneurship," she'd say. I guess I didn't. I understood hard work. But her kind of work seemed to be about pretending life was perfect. When bills came due, she'd post about trusting the process. I trusted her instead. Even when friends warned me, I defended her. "She's trying," I'd say. "She just needs a break." That break never came. She always had money for new clothes or fancy meals, but never for her share of the electric bill. I started to notice her messages with someone named Ryan. She said he was just a friend, a business contact. I wanted to believe that too. Every time I felt uneasy, she flipped it back on me. "Stop being paranoid," she'd say. So I stopped questioning and started pretending. It was easier than fighting. By year 4, I was exhausted but still loyal. I told myself love was supposed to be work. But deep down, I think I already knew. I was building a life, and she was building an image. And somewhere along the way, I became the background to her story. A steady, dependable man she could always fall back on. The kind of man she loved having until something shinier came along. I just didn't realize how soon that something would show up. It happened on a Saturday afternoon. A simple rugby game with my local team, nothing serious. One bad step, one wrong angle, and I heard the pop. It felt like someone had sliced through my knee with a knife. I hit the ground and knew right away something was wrong. The hospital confirmed it. Complete ACL tear, surgery needed. The doctor said recovery could take months. No rugby, no heavy work, no driving for weeks. I tried to stay calm, but the fear hit hard that night. I'd never been under anesthesia before. The thought of being asleep while someone cut into me terrified me. Vanessa acted sympathetic at first, but only on the surface. She asked how long I'd be out of commission. When I said months, she frowned like it inconvenienced her. I laughed it off, told her I'd be fine. But inside I was shaking. 2 nights before surgery, I couldn't sleep at all. I kept packing the kitchen, reading surgery forums online. Every story made me more anxious. I needed comfort, reassurance, something real. So I walked into the living room, where she was editing photos. Her ring light glowed against her face like a halo. "Can we talk?" I asked. "Sure, babe," she said without looking up. "I'm scared," I admitted. "I just need you there tomorrow." She finally looked at me, confused. "There where?" she asked. "At the hospital, when I wake up." Her face twisted like I'd asked her to cancel a vacation. "Oh, I can't," she said quickly. "I have brunch with Ryan." I thought I misheard her. "Ryan," I repeated. She nodded. "We've been planning it for weeks." I stared, waiting for her to laugh, to say it was a joke. She didn't. "It's just brunch," she added. "You'll be asleep anyway." My stomach dropped. That one sentence replayed in my head like an echo. You'll be asleep anyway. That's how little I mattered in her world. Not anger, not jealousy, just pure cold realization. All the red flags lined up perfectly in that moment. Every time she'd skipped my family dinners. Every time she'd called me boring. Every time she'd made me feel small for wanting her time. It all led here, to brunch with her ex. I felt something in me harden, like steel cooling after fire. I smiled and said quietly, "Thanks for being honest about your priorities." She looked relieved, like she'd dodged an argument. "See, you understand," she said and went back to her editing. That night, she went out for drinks with friends. I sat alone in the kitchen, staring at my hands. 4 years of my life, and that's what it came down to. A man about to go under the knife, and a woman chasing a photo op. That was the night I stopped being scared of the surgery and started being scared of what I'd let my life become. That night, something inside me switched off. The fear of surgery turned into a strange kind of calm. If she could skip my surgery for brunch, she didn't deserve my trust. I sat in the dark kitchen, phone in hand, planning quietly. For years, I'd fixed broken things, but this time I had to fix myself. At midnight, I called Jake, my best friend since high school. He answered on the second ring, half asleep. "Hey man, what's up?" "I need a ride to the hospital tomorrow," I said. "Of course," he replied without hesitation. "What time?" 6:30, and Jake, I also need a favor. I told him about Vanessa, the brunch, the years of excuses. There was silence on the line. Then he said, "You sure you're ready for this?" "More than ever," I said. Next, I called my cousin Rob. He'd never liked Vanessa and didn't bother to hide it. When I explained my plan, he actually laughed. "Took you long enough," he said. "Count me in." We talked for almost an hour, sorting every detail. While I was under anesthesia, they'd be at my house. They would pack every single thing that belonged to her. Clothes, shoes, makeup, electronics, everything. I gave Jake my house keys and full permission. Nothing of hers was to stay behind. I also printed out her text, "You'll be asleep anyway." That line would be her goodbye. I wrote a letter and sealed it in a white envelope. It said, "Vanessa, you were right. I was asleep this morning, but now I'm awake. Your things are on the porch. The locks are changed. Your phone line, insurance, and gym membership are canceled. Good luck with brunch." By dawn, I'd finished everything. I felt lighter than I had in months. When Jake picked me up for the hospital, Rob was in the passenger seat. "Ready for D-Day," Rob joked. I nodded, ready to wake up. The surgery prep was routine. The nurses moved around me, attaching wires and IVs. I kept checking my phone, hopping for a message from her. Nothing, not even a good luck text. The last thing I saw before the anesthesia hit was the ceiling light above me. When I woke up hours later, groggy but alive, Jake was sitting by my bed. "Everything done," he said. I didn't need to ask what he meant. While I was asleep, my life had been cleaned of her. They packed it all, changed the locks, left the note. When Vanessa came home, she'd find a porch full of garbage bags. Her perfect world in black plastic. Her message taped to the top like a mirror she couldn't ignore. As I drifted back to sleep, I felt something I hadn't in years. Peace. The kind that comes when you finally stop fixing what was never yours to repair. Vanessa came home around 2 in the afternoon. My neighbor said she was humming, sunglasses on, holding an iced latte. She tried her key once, twice, 3 times before realizing it didn't fit. Then she saw the bags on the porch, piled neatly under a tarp. She froze, confused, still smiling like it was some kind of prank. Then she saw the note taped to the top. The smile disappeared. She started knocking, then pounding, then yelling my name. The neighbor across the street watched from her porch, pretending to sweep. Vanessa called my phone, but the call failed. Her line was dead. She tried again, nothing. That's when she used Ryan's phone. Jake answered. "Hey, it's Vanessa," she said. "I can't reach Ethan and my key doesn't work." "Yeah," Jake replied calmly. "He's still in surgery. You remember the one you skipped." She went silent. "There's an envelope on the counter that explains everything," he added. "I can't get in," she snapped. "Right," he said. "That's because the locks are changed. Check the porch." Then he hung up. My neighbor said she sat on the curb, reading the note over and over. Her expression shifted from confusion to panic to disbelief. After about an hour, Ryan drove off, leaving her sitting alone. Eventually, she dragged the bags into her car and drove away. By the time I got home the next day, she was gone. The house was quiet, spotless, peaceful. No perfume in the air, no ring light on the table, no clutter. For the first time, it felt like my home again. The next week, I started hearing what happened to her. Word travels fast in a small town. Apparently, she got pulled over the next day for a broken taillight. The cop ran her info and found she had no car insurance. They impounded the car, fined her, and left her stranded. She borrowed a phone from a friend, but couldn't open her accounts. Her business depended on social media, but without her number, she was locked out. Her followers stopped seeing her posts. Brands stopped reaching out. Within a week, her so-called career vanished. She tried staying with a friend, but that lasted 3 days. She ate their food, used their things, and offered nothing in return. They asked her to leave. Then she went to Ryan. She thought maybe they could rekindle something. Turns out, he was engaged and only met her for closure. When she showed up with her bags, he told her to leave. With no car, no money, and no plan, she went back to her parents' house. I heard they weren't happy to see her. Her mom had lost her job, her dad was sick, and they were barely managing. I used to send them money quietly, just to help. Now that stopped too. They let her stay, but made her pay her share. She couldn't. For the first time, Vanessa was completely on her own. And for the first time, I slept through the night without dreaming of her. Recovery was slow but steady. The first few days after surgery were rough, filled with painkillers and ice packs. Jake stayed with me, making sure I didn't fall or try to do too much. Rob stopped by with food and bad jokes, saying laughter was free medicine. I couldn't drive, couldn't work, couldn't even shower without help. But somehow, I felt lighter. The silence in the house didn't feel empty anymore. It felt like peace. No arguments about money. No fake laughter for social media. No tension hiding under every conversation. Just me, my crutches, and the sound of the fridge humming in the background. Every morning, I saw the sunlight hit the living room differently. The space looked cleaner, calmer, more alive. Her chaos had left with her. I started noticing small things I'd forgotten I loved. The smell of coffee in the morning. The sound of my tools clinking in the garage. The quiet moments when no one demanded my attention. My friends showed up constantly. Jake drove me to therapy sessions. Rob helped fix the loose railing by the porch. Even my coworkers came by with casseroles and jokes. They filled the space that Vanessa used to drain. For years, she told me they were boring, that I was wasting time on small people. Now I realize those boring people were the ones who truly cared. They never asked for anything. They just showed up. And in their company, I started healing faster than the doctor expected. The physical pain was fading, but the emotional clarity was growing. I could see my past like a movie. I'd finally stopped starring in. Vanessa's words, her tone, her endless excuses, they all sounded fake now. I wondered how I hadn't seen it before. But love does that. It blinds you with hope until truth punches you awake. At night, I scrolled through my old photos. There she was, smiling, posing, holding a glass of champagne. I looked closer and saw how distant her eyes had been. She wasn't in love with me. She was in love with the version of herself I made possible. The stable life, the steady paycheck, the safety net. And once that was gone, she had nothing left to stand on. Meanwhile, I was learning how to walk again, literally and emotionally. Each step on the therapy, Matt felt like reclaiming a piece of myself. By the second month, I no longer needed the crutches. I started cooking again, laughing again, breathing freely. The house became a home, not a stage. I realized happiness wasn't loud or flashy. It was quiet, patient, and real. And for the first time in a long time, I wasn't afraid of being alone. Because being alone finally meant being free. It was a Friday evening when I saw her again. I was closing the shop, wiping grease from my hands. A small, beat-up Honda pulled into the parking lot. The car door opened, and Vanessa stepped out. For a moment, I barely recognized her. Her hair was tied back messily, her face pale and tired. The confident sparkle she once carried was gone. She walked slowly, clutching a worn canvas bag. "Hey, Ethan," she said softly. Her voice cracked like she hadn't spoken much lately. I leaned against my truck, waiting for whatever came next. "I know I'm the last person you want to see," she continued. "I just wanted to talk." I nodded once, not saying a word. "I made a mistake," she said, her eyes wet. "I should have been there for you. I should have chosen differently." She looked smaller somehow, like the world had finally humbled her. "I've been working at a retail store," she went on. "Barely getting by. My parents might move soon, and I have nowhere to go." I could hear the desperation beneath her calm tone. "I'm not asking for much," she said quickly. "Maybe I could stay in your spare room for a while. I'll pay rent, help around." Her words tumbled out, shaky and practiced. I studied her face carefully, searching for something real. There was guilt there, maybe even fear, but no love. "Vanessa," I said slowly, "I helped you for 4 years. You traded all of that for brunch with your ex." She shook her head, tears spilling down her cheeks. "It wasn't about Ryan," she whispered. "I was just stupid, I was selfish." I sighed, the kind that empties everything left inside. "Maybe, but it doesn't matter what it was about. When I needed you most, you chose something else." Her lip trembled as she wiped her face. "But I've changed," she said. "I've learned." "You've learned that actions have consequences," I said quietly. "That's not the same as changing." She looked at me like a drowning person, reaching for a hand. "I don't have anyone else," she whispered. "You had me," I said, "and you threw that away." For a long moment, neither of us spoke. The air between us felt heavy, full of things that couldn't be fixed. She took a step forward, but I stepped back. "I'm not your safety net anymore," I said. Her sobs broke the silence, raw and painful. I got into my truck, started the engine, and looked at her one last time. She stood there under the flickering parking light, alone. For a second, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. But then I remembered, every time, she made me feel small. Every time she called me boring, or needy, or not enough. I put the truck in gear and drove away. That night, I blocked her number for good. It wasn't revenge. It was closure. The kind that doesn't need words, only distance. And as I drove home, I realized I wasn't angry anymore. I was free. 3 months passed after that night. Vanessa disappeared from my life completely. Friends said she found a small apartment in a rough neighborhood. She still worked retail, still barely surviving. Her followers stopped caring. Her phone stayed silent. The girl who once lived for attention now lived in quiet struggle. I didn't feel joy about it, just a strange kind of peace. My knee healed stronger than before. I went back to rugby, back to laughing with my friends. The house stayed clean, calm, and mine. I started dating again, taking things slow this time. No drama, no pretending, just honest conversations. I learned to see red flags early and walk away without guilt. Life didn't suddenly become perfect, but it felt real. I finally understood that peace is worth more than passion. Love isn't about saving someone who refuses to grow. It's about building something steady together. Sometimes, losing someone is how you find yourself again. And when I look back now, I don't feel regret. I just feel awake.